Hare Krishna, everybody. Thank you very much for joining. Om Ajnana Timirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Sri Guruve Namaha. Sri Chaitanya Manobishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kada Mayam Dadati Swapadantikam. Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Sri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Brinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. So last time we spoke upon Kaliya Daman. Krishna subdues Kaliya. So that story has got some history, which I will tell you now. The history of Kaliya goes like this. One history I told you last time, that they were Vedashira and Agnishira, two rishis. They cursed each other, and that's how they became Kakabushundi and Kaliya. Another history after he became Kaliya is like this, that there is an island called Ramanaka Dweep, which is the abode of snakes. Everybody please put on your videos. So on that island where all the snakes reside and all their wealth is there, Garuda used to come daily, and he would pick up randomly the snakes and he would eat them. One day all the snakes came to Garuda. When he came to eat them, they requested that, my dear Garuda, please, we will regulate your feed. Every day we will give one snake from our family. And not only one snake, we will give you vegetables, we will give you herbs, also which is very tasty like nectar. So Garuda said, okay, fine, but I'm not going to be fed on vanaspati and your herbs. My main meal will be snake. So if you assure me of snakes, I'll be happy. So they agreed, and everybody agreed, and they started feeding him one snake per day. When it came the turn of Kaliya and his personal family, arrogantly what Kaliya did was all the vegetables and beautiful tasty herbs, all that he ate himself. And when Garuda came, he was very angry. So he hit Kaliya with his wing. A great hit was given. And that made them start fighting with each other. And you see, when Garuda gave him one shot with his one wing, then Kaliya became unconscious. Then Garuda is called as Pada Prahar here. You can Pada Prahar or Hasta Prahar. What do you call the legs of Garuda? You can call him as Panja also, as a palm also, or as a leg also. So he hit him with that, and then Kaliya became unconscious. Then Kaliya stung Garuda with his poisonous snake, spreading his hundreds of hoods. He stung Garuda. Garuda held him in the beak. Can you imagine how huge Garuda must be? Because Kaliya had around 500 hoods, and he was many crores long. And that whole body of Kaliya, Garuda held in his beak. And he smashed him on the ground and started beating him with his palm again and again. Kaliya started plucking and pulling the feathers of Garuda. Now listen, dear devotees, at this point of time when Kalia was trying to pull and pluck the feathers of Garuda, two birds were born. One of them was Nilakantha and one of them was Peacock. How did Peacock and Nilakantha take birth? They take birth during this fight. And very soon that auspicious day is going to come, which is called as Ashwin Shukla Dashami. That is called as Dashera. On the day of Dashera, if you take darshan of this one or two birds, Nilakantha or Mayur or both of them, all your desires will be fulfilled. That is the benediction. So they were born out of the feathers of Garuda. Garuda started dragging Kalia with his beak on the ground. Kalia escaped the grip of Garuda and then started running. And lo and behold, he was not running on the ground. He was running on Saptadvipa, on the 7 islands. He started running. 7 continents, 7 oceans, running one after another. Then he started running from Bhuloka to Bhuvarloka to Swarloka to Janaloka to Tapaloka to Maharloka. That is Satyaloka, that is Brahmaloka. Till that point he went, and everywhere Garuda was chasing him. And wherever he went and was wanting to have shelter, no one came to his rescue because of fear of Lord Vishnu, because Garuda was the vehicle of Lord Vishnu. So nobody wanted to get into the business of them. And then as he went up and up and up and nobody gave him shelter, he came down and down and down again. And finally, he went to Patala Loka. And guess whom? Guess whom he met there? He met his oldest brother, that is Ananta Shesha, who had yesterday in Ramayana, Mahabharata, I told that story, how Ananta Shesha had done tapasya and he had received the order from Vishnu to uphold Mother Earth by going below her in Patal Loka. So he went there and he said, my dear brother, my life is in danger. Garuda is chasing me and I don't know where to get shelter and where do I go to a safe place? How do I find a safe place? So Ananta Shesha told him, there's only one way and there's only one place for you to be safe from Garuda. And that place is Yamuna on earth. Because at one point of time, Garuda came to Yamuna and he would pick up fish randomly for his food. And then one time all the fish went and complained to Saubhari Muni that Garuda is finishing us. So that time, next time when Garuda came there, Saubhari Muni said, please do not eat fish from this river where I am staying. They are under my shelter. Garuda said, yes, yes, I will not come again. But while going back, he picked up the king of the fish, Meenaraj, and went away. He agreed, but he went away with one fish, that is the king of the fish. So when Saubhari Muni came to know that he agreed, but he went with the fish king, he cursed from there, oh Garuda, if you ever come here again, you will die. So Ananta Shesha reminded Kalia, or rather told Kalia about this fact, that if you go and take shelter in Yamuna, then Garuda will not enter. So the fight continued and Garuda chased him and Kalia came in the Vrindavan and he entered the water of Yamuna. Actually, Garuda could have counter-cursed Saubhari Muni, Garuda could have done anything because Garuda is Vishnu Tattva. He is a very powerful personality. Even demigods cannot do anything against this person called Garuda. But respecting sadhus, respecting Mahatmas, respecting great tapasvis, Garuda just left and went away. He didn't bother to find. And that's how this Kalia had taken shelter in the water of Yamuna. And as I told you last time also, the water of Yamuna became so poisonous that it was boiling constantly with the heat of the poison. creating fumes and humidity over the water, and the birds would fall drop dead. So Sri Krishna, as we discussed last time, all these pastime, dancing, fighting with Kali underwater, he actually kicked Kali out of the lake of the Yamuna, and he made the water completely clean. Jala Tattva Shuddhi, he created completely clean water. That means the contaminated water, life-threatening water which was filled with poison, Krishna completely purified. That means Krishna is the original transcendental environmentalist. He was an environmentalist. Paryavaranvadi, the supreme Divya Paryavaranvadi. He actually cleaned all the 5 elements of material world. Pancha Mahabhuta cleansing he did. We always say in the story of Kaliya that Jala Tattva Shuddhi by subduing Kaliya. Then Mother Earth he purified by eating the dirt. That is called as Brahmanda Leela, Brunda Bhakshan Leela. Then Vayu Leela he did Vayu Shuddhikaran he did by killing Shakatasur. Shakatasur was a Vayu ghost. Then by killing Trinavarta, he purified the air. Trinavarta came in the form of whirlwind. Then Jalashuddhi by Kaliya, Daman, and then comes fire. By drinking fire 2 times, he cleansed the fire Tattva, Agni Tattva. And then by killing Vyomasur, who represented the space or Avkash or vacuum, he cleansed the Avkash Tattva, the space Tattva. And by these 5 ways, Krishna completely purified the atmosphere. Now when Krishna came out of the water, very safe and happy, and after subduing Kaliya, he came smiling, and everybody, they were almost dead actually. But when they saw Krishna coming out of the water, they all came and embraced Krishna one after another. And amazingly, all throughout the pastime, half the pastime took place when Krishna was alone there with cowherd boys. Remaining half took place when Balaramji, Nanda Maharaj, Yashoda, Rohini, everybody came running from Nandagaon because they got the news that Krishna is in the grip of Kaliya and almost about to die. So when everybody came, I told you that Yashoda Mataji wanted to enter the water and she fell unconscious. Nanda Maharaj fainted, Rohini fainted, everybody fainted, Gopis fainted. Cowherd boys were, they were actually gazed at. Krishna gazed at them. And by his transcendental gaze, they were dead. They came to life and they were in so much of anxiety, so much of pain. Except Balaram, everybody was in pain. And Balaram was leaning against the tree from which Krishna jumped. He was smiling. He had so much confidence that his brother has so much strength. Kaliya cannot do anything wrong with him. But everybody wondered why Balaram is laughing and smiling while they were all almost on the verge of death. So everybody embraced Krishna, congratulated him, said all glories, Jai, Jai Krishna. Some garlanded him with forest flowers. And then Mother Yashoda took him in her lap. Mother Yashoda embraced him again and again. And she cried piteously for a long time. Actually, those were mixed tears, happy tears and sad tears, because she thought she lost Krishna almost. And she couldn't believe that she got him back. And at the same time, when she was crying with Krishna in the lap, rivers of milk was flowing from her breast out of her maternal love for Krishna. Then Krishna woke up and went to the lap of Balramji. Balramji took him in his lap. And Balramji embraced him again and again, gazing at him with love and affection and appreciation. So thus the pastime of Kaliya ended. Krishna not only purified the water, but he also purified the heart of Kaliya. He made him pure devotee. He made him free of false ego. He made him free of all envy. And that's how Kaliya went back to Ramanaka Dvipa, that is today's Fiji Island. So Fiji also is a very holy place. It's a rich place also because wherever snakes are, they are fabulously rich. Wherever you go, snakes are always guarding the great wealth. Wherever there is great wealth, the snakes are guarding that. Snakes also own a lot of wealth. So Ramanaka Dvipa is also very rich in herbs and jewels and all other sea wealth. Okay, so this pastime got over. Then all parents and Brajvasis were very happy to have Krishna. They embraced him, and finally it got late for them to return because naturally Krishna was playing ball in one village called Gindova. And then from there he walked all the way to Vrindavan. Then he jumped in the water. By the time the fight was going on, half the day got over. And later of the half of the day, all the Brijvasis came from Nandagaon to Vrindavan. And further fight continued. Anxiety, ups and downs of emotions, everything continued. Demigod danced in the sky. Then Kalia got subdued. Then the Nagapatnis came and offered prayers. Then Krishna told him to go away. Then Krishna, before just going away, called some gopis on him and did some mini Rasa Yatra. And then he got down. And then Kalia went away. And then Krishna came down. They embraced each other. So many things happened. So it naturally got late in the evening. It was dark. So they did not travel. Generally, Krishna would reach back Nandagaon before sun sets. He would be home. That is our Indian culture. Please, my dear brothers and sisters, to come home before sunset is our culture. Nobody moves out or keeps wandering out after the sun sets. All the workers, farmers, everybody comes home by the time of sunset and they take bath, and by twilight time they offer a lamp to the Lord, do arti, have puja, then do bhajans and kirtans and read from scriptures, and then take some prasad and go to rest. Here in Kali Yuga, the city life is such that people come at midnight home, take their dinner at 1 o'clock in the morning. And I know some families who sleep at 3 p.m. 3 a.m. in the morning every day. Every day as a routine, 3 a.m. in the morning they sleep. So this is a life of Tamoguna, where Sattva Guna cannot be cultivated. And because of that, spirituality is very difficult to get cultivated. Very difficult. When you have such schedules, you go against the body's biocycle and try to give your best. How it is possible when body's biocycle is not respected? You cannot give physically your best, mentally your best. What to speak of spiritually? It's impossible. So anyways, because it was late, they decided to stay over there only at the bank of Yamuna. Now you just imagine, so some of you come to Mira Road, and then you get late, so you don't want to go back, and you sleep on the road somewhere for the night. Next morning you go home. How does it sound to you? None of you will do that. But Nanda Maharaj was a king of Braja. Brajendra Nandan he was. Yashoda Mai was Brajeshwari. She was the queen of Vrindavan. And they were royal people. But they chose to stay in the forest in the night. That too, they had not got their sleeping bags, They just had come in anxiety to see Krishna. They were not prepared. They just came running. In emergency, they came running. So this tells two things. What I feel, I gather that Nanda Maharaj, although he was such a big king, he was so humble actually. He didn't mind to sleep under a tree on that night. And number two, definitely the forest of Vrindavan must be habitable forest. It must be clean and nice and beautiful to stay. Otherwise, how Nanda Maharaj would put his people in danger in the night. So it must be pleasant. It must be beautiful to stay. So everybody stayed. It is still, I'm just imagining from yesterday morning how they must have stayed that night without any preparation, without any pillow, they are kingly people. They have palaces and they have satin and they have silk. on bedstead and everything is so auspicious and so beautiful and so opulent. But still, Nanda Maharaj and whole Brajvasi, because nobody stayed back. Everybody was anxious, so everybody ran from Nandagaon to Vrindavan. So they stayed back, and lo and behold, we should always know one thing, that Vrindavan Dham is never peaceful. Please understand. There is unlimited bliss over there. But peace, sorry sir, there's no peace there. Always something is happening. Huh? Always something is happening. You go to herd cows and you do some yajna and suddenly rain starts coming. You go to play and a big snake comes there. And you have a festival, you put Krishna down and a cart demon comes. You put Krishna down on his birthday and then the whirlwind comes. You just see here and there a beautiful lady comes, you give Krishna to baby Krishna to her hands and she becomes she is Putana. She is feeding poison to Krishna. At every step there was danger in Vrindavan. So do not think that when you become Krishna conscious or when you accept Krishna as your friend or as your Lord and surrender to him your life, it does not mean that you will become peaceful. Please understand. You will get unlimited bliss because Maya is right next to Krishna. And how did the Brajbasis, how did they succeed? How did they manage? Because in spite of all difficulties, they never gave up the shelter of Krishna. Whatever happened, every time their life was in danger. Sometimes with water, sometimes with poison, sometimes with fire, sometimes with demons. It was not just like they had some bruise here and there, because there's some bandage, it's all right. No, every time there was life and death situation. Every so-called difficulty was a life and death situation. So what happened today? They are sleeping peacefully in the forest. Suddenly they woke up in the middle of the night. Why? Because it was very hot. And they saw so much of light and so much of heat. Because of what? Because of very big fire called forest fire. All of you must be knowing what is forest fire. When the bamboos, they rub each other, somehow they fall down and they rub because of dryness and because of the bamboos rubbing dry surfaces, fire erupts. And it is explained that except for a rainfall, nothing else can extinguish the forest fire. Even today also, the technology has gone so much ahead. When California gets the forest fire, no fire extinguishing system can help. They have to simply wait. And acres and acres and thousands of acres of forest is under the flames, consumed by the fire. And the government of America is so advanced technology, they have to simply wait and watch till the fire takes its own decision not to go ahead and the fire stops itself. That's all. Now our scriptures say that Ghana Ghanatvam, when there is only rains from the sky, that time the fire can be extinguished, which is called forest fire. So samsara dava nalalida loka tranaya karunya Ghana Ghanatvam. The Guru's mercy is compared to the rain. Guru Devi's gentle rain, extinguishing the mortal strife. The blazing fire of samsara. It's a very beautiful song, which is translation of the Samsara Dava Nalali Loka poem. In the morning we sing Mangalarti. The blazing fire of samsara, extinguishing death and life, but Guru Devi's gentle rain, extinguishing the mortal strife. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So this fire consumed everybody. They were all shouting, Krishna, Krishna, Balaram, Balaram, save us, save us. Nanda Maharaj also was there. Yashoda was there. Rohini was there. You can imagine. I always feel that just don't hear the katha. Try to be in the katha. Try to imagine what the coward boys, what the Brajvasis must have gone through. What kind of danger it must be. And how they must have called Krishna so helplessly. And Krishna saw my dear brothers and sisters and uncles and aunties, everybody is crying. The fire is consuming them. In brackets, somewhere it was written in the book also, Krishna book, that it must be an agent of Kamsa who lit the fire in the middle of the night. So Krishna said, don't worry, close your eyes. And everybody closed their eyes with full faith. Nobody questioned Krishna, why close eyes? You do your job now, let us see what you're doing. How are you going to save us? Let me see, let us see. But they are so dedicated. Krishna said, close your eyes. They close their eyes. We have to be like that. We have to have 100% faith in Nishtha, unshakable faith that this small boy, he will do everything right, nothing to worry. So they closed their eyes and literally Krishna drank the flames like we drink the water from the glass. He just drank everything just like we drink water, he drank the fire. All the forest fire was completely consumed by Krishna by drinking through mouth. And then he said, please open your eyes. And they opened their eyes. It was as if nothing was there. There was no trace of fire. And even fire extinguished, what remains is burnt things. Ashes, right? Half burnt things you see. When you see some things remains after the fire, what you see, you can make out there was a fire here a couple of minutes ago. When Krishna consumed the fire, there was no remnants of fire. When Indra stopped the rains, generally when you get heavy rains, thunderous rains in Mumbai, and rain stops, then what do you see? Some trees fallen down here, some shrubs are fallen down, some small trees are fallen down, some car is upside down, so many things you see. Lot of dirt is on the road, lot of dirt has come out of the gutters and drying up on the road. You can make out that there was a very heavy rains here a couple of hours ago, just now subsided. But when Indra stopped the rain, not even one grass was uprooted from Govardhan. Can you imagine? Not even one blade of grass was uprooted from Braj Bhumi also. There was no remnants only. This was such a massacre, such a mishap for 7 days and 7 nights. There were rains. So, by the time all this happened, it was dawn. And that day, instead of getting up in the morning in Nandagaon and then getting ready to go out of Nandagaon to forest to cow herding, they went to Nandagaon in the morning. It happens sometimes, no? When you get late and you travel, and you come in the morning. So they reached early morning back home. Now this is called Davanal. And there's a place where all this happened. This place was called Davanal Kunda. How many of you have gone there, Davanal Kunda? It's a very beautiful, secluded place in Vrindavan. That's why I'm always requesting you should come with me to Vrindavan. I will show you all these beautiful places. This place is, if you have come to ISKCON temple, you have to go south and north. You have to go to east. You have to go to east side. That means you have to go reverse parikrama of Vrindavan. And you go ahead and ahead and you will come across a rail cross. A mini rail cross is there. And there this Davanal Kund is there. Banke Bihari Bagicha is there. Banke Bihari's big land is there where beautiful, colorful, fragrant flowers are grown. And from there, flowers go to Banke Bihari temple. Just opposite that, you get a gully inside and you go right inside. And there happens to be Sai Baba temple inside, much inside. And there's a big, deep kund is there, Davanal Kund, where actually all the Brajvasis had taken rest in the night. And the fire was there. Davanal Kund. We learn a lot of lesson that our material existence is like blazing fire. And only Sri Gurudev His mercy can save us from the blazing fire of birth and death. Guru Devi's gentle reign, extinguishing the mortal strife. Then I remember Davanal Kund in a very unique way, because my first debut of lecture in the Radha Gopinath Kartik Yatra was in 2004, when I gave my first lecture in Davanal Kund. Suddenly, that yatra was organized by me in 2004. Not 2004, I think much later on, because there are 2,000 devotees that time. Huge crowd was there. And then lecture was scheduled to be in Davanal Kund. Suddenly Maharaj calls me and tells me, Vishwarup, today you will give lecture to the audience of 2,000. And I was like, Maharaj, how will I give? I don't have any preparation. He said, just get Krishna book and read and give lecture. I am following, I'll join you. Now, there was only little time and I had to also lead the devotees walking all the way to Davanal Kund. That's another service I was having. So when to lead the devotees, when to find the book, and when to read and when to give lecture. There's no time only. So I just somehow could not find the book only. And then time was there, devotees already started walking. I took them all the way, led them to the place, and till the time I sat on the Vyasasan in the front of the pond, there was no book available. And 200,000 devotees already sat in front of me. Can you believe? Covering all the banks of Davanal Kund. And then I prayed to Guru Maharaj and I spoke there. First lecture at Davanal Kund. That was my first lecture in the Yatra, actually. First Yatra lecture. So it's a very beautiful memory. I cannot forget that place. It's a very beautiful place, surrounded by beautiful trees of best of all, best trees in Vrindavan are there. And if you really want to, experience Braj, Vrindavan, then you should go to such interior places where there's no crowd, no one knows about it, just go there. There are so many birds of all kinds chirping, making sounds. And atmosphere is so peaceful and serene, and you sit there and chant Hare Krishna. It's so nice. Another thing I remember about this place is Gaur Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj. One time had taken devotees to the bank of Davanal Kund. And he was giving lecture to them. And they all heard his lecture very nicely, and lecture ended, and then everybody was getting up. And when they were getting up, they were, what we do when we get up from a place in the holy place? Because we sit in the mud, sit in the earth. So what do you do when we get up? We just try to, take out the dust from the body. So everybody was doing that. Everybody was taking the dust out of their pants and the saris and from behind. And Gaur Kishore Das Babaji got angry with them. He said, you are all fool number one. Everybody is fools number one. Don't you know what are you rubbing off and showing off from your body? This is Braj Raj. This is the dust of Vrindavan, on which Krishna, Balaram, Radharani, gopis, cowherd boys, cows, monkeys, everybody has walked upon. This particular dust of Vrindavan is so powerful that even if you at all imaginary, you have the wealth of all the Vaikuntha planets in the spiritual world. With all that wealth, you cannot buy one grain of this dust, which millions of them particles are on your body and you are throwing them away. For this one grain of dust, all the demigods, including Brahma, are hankering for, but they don't get it. Because the secret of all the love of Radha and Krishna, the secret of all the devotion is hidden in one particle of dust of Vrindavan. And such millions of particles of dust are on your body, and you fools are removing them from your body. How unfortunate, how ignorant of the truth all of you are. This is what he said. So, lesson for us is, when you go to Braj, never hesitate to sit on the ground without an asan. Whenever Guru Maharaj says, sit down and I'm going to start a class. Or you go with devotees, and devotees, one of them is supposed to speak, and he sits on an asan as a Vyasasan, and you are told to sit anywhere in the steps of the bank of the Kunda or in the forest, anywhere. Just sit down without hesitation. And when you get up, don't remove the dust from your body. Carry with you, okay? Otherwise, Gaur Kishudas Babaji is going to call you fool number one. So thus, we have successfully visited Davanal Kunda, and then very soon summer arrived. And summer is very hot, because even that time when Krishna was there, summer was very hot and it was not so pleasant. But because it is said by Shukadeva Goswami, because Krishna and Balaram lived that time in Vrindavan, you know what happened? What used to happen? When Sri Krishna was there in Vrindavan, all these 6 Rutus, 6 seasons, they were personified devotees of the Lord, right? They were people. They were in the form of season. And there were 6 personalities of 6 seasons. And they were all present together, ready to serve Krishna as per his requirement. In the middle of the winter, he wanted to have a warm day, they would create a warm day. In the middle of the hot day, they wanted to have a rainy day, there would be rains. In the middle of rainy season, he wanted to have a pleasant fog, there would be a pleasant fog. In the month of May, they don't want to have mangoes, they want to have mangoes in the middle of the December, mangoes would come in December. In the middle of the night, if they want to lotus to blossom, all lotuses will blossom. Anything at any time would happen. What to speak of the Lord? Hiranyakashipu was that kind of a king. All the demigods were under his subjugation, and he would order them, now I want beautiful rain to come of the rain season. And Indra had to do rains that time. That kind of control over he had over the demigods. Even the demon had. What to speak of the Lord? The Lord is a master of all demigods, loving master, not forceful master or a tyrant master. So because of Krishna Balaram being there, everything was so pleasant in Vrindavan. Sound of waterfalls always used to be there in the atmosphere. Now please listen to me with great concentration. Sound of waterfalls always filled the atmosphere of Vrindavan Dham. And because of waterfalls, the droplets of water would always be covering all the trees, which trees would be always wet with droplets of waterfalls and the tushar, that is called as sprinkles of water. Trees always are moistened. Breeze carrying pollens of lotuses from ponds were everywhere. The fragrant cool and manda, very soft breeze was flow. Fresh green grass were everywhere. Flowers and animal, fresh green grass and flowers were always there, creating beautiful scene and fragrance. Animals and birds making their sounds all the time, making the whole atmosphere so pleasant. Krishna and Balaram on one fine day entered the forest playing on their flute. They decorated themselves, already they were decorated by Yashoda and Rohini, but still they added on to decoration. What did they decorate with? Newly grown grass, peacock feathers, forest flower garland, clusters of flower birds, and colored minerals, ointments. They decorated each other. They danced and they sang and they also do wrestling. They were wrestling on the way. Krishna's mundan was not done by that time. So he had, it is explained by Shukdev ji, that his hair with all those flowers and birds looked like clustered together like a crow. Kauve jaise unke baal the, lambe lambe, which resembled crow's feathers. As Krishna danced, some boys accompanied him in dance. Some of them played flutes and kartal and buffalo horns. Some of them praised him while he was dancing. Krishna and Balaram whirled around each other, leaped around each other, slapped one another, fought with one another, wrestling match, pulled the hair of the boys, and accompany others dance by playing instruments and singing. This is what Krishna Balaram were doing. All of them would start playing with bilva fruit. You know bilva fruit, green color? And they were playing hide and seek. They were playing blind man's bluff. They were imitating animals and birds and many, many kinds of games. It is said that every kind of game that you and me played in childhood had the origin with Krishna Balram's playing. Everything they played, that only we are playing. Vitu Dandi, Vitu Dandu, Viti Dandu, Abu Dhabi. Abu Dhabi means not Abu Dhabi. Abu Dhabi. Abu Dhabi means Abu Dhabi means what? Abu Dhabi means you make a ball of socks, put chindi in the socks. Chindi means what? The tailor remnants. On tailor shop, there are remnants of cloth. You collect. I used to go to tailor shop and collect all the cloth remnants, cloth pieces, and old socks that we used to wear, pair of socks. You press, and press, then you tie it up and swell, again tie it up, and finally you stitch and make a very kadak ball, And then what you do is, then you play with that ball. It bounces and you play. And sometimes you play a shot. And then what happens? The ball goes out of terrace and falls in the gutter. And then you start shouting from the terrace to people walking on the road to please give the ball and throw it up. Then some kind person will, after 10 people, one person will get down, put his hand in the gutter, pick the ball up, which is fully drenched in the gutter water, and he will throw it on the second floor of the terrace. And then you hit that wet ball to the wall to take out that dirt as much as possible. And with that wet ball, you play Abadubi. Abadubi means what? You hit the ball on somebody else. So when you give your back and he hits the ball, there's a nice round black color on your t-shirt. And then you get the ball and you hit anybody. By the time you go home, all your backs are with black circles. My dear friends, this sweet game is called as Abadubi, which you used to play in childhood. I'm sure Achyut Krishna Babu knows. He was staying in BDD Chal number 9. So we have that good experience. You want to know what is Lagori mean? Lagori means you take small stone plates, like I can say tiles, broken tiles, but they are small pieces. You just stack them on each other, say 7 to 8. And then your two parties of boys and boys, and one party goes opposite side, one party has the ball with them. And from distance you throw, and you have to break that stack of tiles and scatter that. And the ball will go here and there. And by the time the ball comes back and hits you, you have to put the stack together. And when you are putting the stack together and putting it again like before, you should not get hit by the ball of opposite party. So when they will hit, you have to avoid that and please do it. And if you are able to do that stack together, then you have won the game before getting hit by the ball. So again, you get a chance to hit the Lagori. It's called Lagori. Unless and until we play these games now, you don't understand the beauty of the whole childhood. Otherwise, people are all playing on the computer and playing on the technological games and all gadgets and everything. They don't have any fun only. Maharaj would say that in the old age, you get a dried seed of mango, for example. That was enough to play. If any time the bale fruit falls on the ground, ripened fruit, it was enough to play with. You just play catch from 100 boys can play catch. And they were happy. They were not unhappy. I don't have a mechanized gadget and I have a remote in my hand and the whole toy moves and we have a fight on the ground with those toys which are controlled by you and me, by the gadgets and controls in your hand. I don't think any fun is there in that. Climbing trees, jumping from trees down, jumping from tree branches in the water, coming out of that, again climbing up, again jumping 51 times. I've done it in childhood, by the way. You just go on doing that for hours together. It's so much of fun, jumping, sometimes mutka, sometimes diving, sometimes sitting and jumping, sometimes standing and jumping, sometimes upside down, sometimes straight. All these games Krishna was playing constantly. And imagine, we had some crooked friends, some good friends, some crooked friends, but still we enjoyed our childhood. Imagine Krishna, Balaram and the friends were so loving. And they would play. Krishna would pull their hair. Krishna would pull their garland. Krishna would steal their tiffin. They will jump on each other. They will play many kinds of games. See what they will do. Throw a fruit in the air and immediately throw another fruit and hit that fruit which they have thrown in the air. Can you imagine that? You yourself do that. And also when you throw a fruit, your friend smashes that fruit in the air by throwing another fruit. What you would say today? Arey, why are you smashing? Let me eat that fruit. They are destroying that fruit in the air. All the juice is falling down. Let me have that fruit. Why are you wasting such costly fruit? Similarly, we will say the same thing when somebody will throw butter on you. You say, hey, better give me in hand. I'll eat the butter. Why are you throwing on me? But in Krishna Balram's time, to express joy, they would only throw butter and fruits. Huh? Then they would play blindfold, and imagine they would recognize what is the game. They will blindfold them with their hands, with their palms from behind, and they have to recognize the person by the touch of their fingers on their eyes. And they would say, yes, yes, he is Vrishabha. Yes, yes, he is Arjun, he is Ujjwala. That kind of love, affection, and friendship they had, that even they could understand each other's touch of fingers on their face. They would recognize them. And that's how they would play. And when they would play these games and there will be competition and somebody will win, somebody will lose. And those who will win, they will present them with flutes and walking sticks as gifts and prizes. They would carry them and they would give them as gift. This is stick for you. This is flute for you. And one day, what happened? One day they were herding cows like this. And this would all be done while they would be herding cows. All this would continue when they will be herding cows. Simultaneously, cows are being herded, they are eating grass and they are keeping watch over them and they are playing, having fun. I also forgot to mention to you, they would imitate animals. That means they would become like frogs, and the way would the frogs will jump and straight jump in Jamuna. Like that, we would imitate frogs. One after another, one boy, second boy, third boy, fourth boy, thousands of them will jump in water, come out, and again become frogs and jump in water. So, one day while doing all these things, they were herding cows. And that day, one of the cowherd boys was absent because of some reason he didn't come. He was at home only. And imagine demon Pralamba. The demon Pralamba took the form of that boy who was absent that day and came along with the herding party. Pralamba entered in the disguise of that boy. Krishna immediately understood, but he did not show that he had understood. He carried on. He called all the friends together and said, okay, let's play, let's play, let's play. So they divided into two parties, Krishna party and Balram party. And Sridama and Vrishabha joined Balram's party. And Bhadrasena Pralamba, the demon Pralamba, joined Krishna's party. And the rule was that whatever game they play, if one party loses, then the losing party should carry the winning party on their shoulders and keep walking while the cows are also walking and eating their grass. All this while the cows are also grazing around. So what happened was, somehow whatever game they played, Balaram's party won. Krishna's party lost. So Krishna carried Sridama. And there is a deep explanation. Every pastime which I am telling you has got vast detail of explanation. But somehow time is not sufficient. I'll tell you one detail, one small detail. I'll tell you first who carried whom. Krishna carried Sridama and Pralamba carried Balram. And Bhadraset carried Vrishabha. This is some 2-3 couples I told, but there were hundreds and thousands of cowherd boys. They carried each other. But when Krishna was carrying Sridama, Sridama is telling on the top, sitting on the shoulder. He had a stick in the hand and he was hitting Krishna from up. And he said, give me proper round. Yesterday when you had won and I had lost, you made me give a long round to you. And today it looks like you are giving short round to me. You are cheating me. And he beat him from up and made him give a good round like that. So carrying these boys and simultaneously herding cows. They were walking, and they were supposed to go to Bhandirvan. There's something called as Bhandiraka Vat. And the Bhandiraka Vat is a vat where when Krishna was a small baby, he had met Radharani over there. And Radharani, Krishna was brought by Nanda Maharaj at the beginning of this forest. And Radharani was quite grown-up girl. And Krishna was a small baby in the hands of Nanda Maharaj. And suddenly it started raining very heavily. So Nanda Maharaj got scared. And Nanda Maharaj said, take your beloved Radharani, I can't protect him, you protect him. So he gave baby Krishna in the hands of Radharani. Radharani took the baby Krishna in her lap and went inside the forest. As soon as he went inside the forest, both of them became 16-year-old youth. Very beautiful, handsome young man and woman. And suddenly Brahmaji appeared from Brahmaloka. And he established a fire and he got them married at the bottom of this beautiful tree called Bhandiraka Vat. And Brahma chanted mantras and gave them 7 circumambulations. Brahma did Kanyadan as a father also. And he made them take vows of wedding that we do in weddings. And then Krishna said, you are a Purohit, so ask for what dakshina you want. So Brahmaji said, please give me love and devotion for you both. So Krishna awarded them love and devotion to Brahma. And then Brahma disappeared. There was nobody else. It was a Gupta wedding. And then the long story, which I will tell you some other time. After wedding, what they did, where all they went for honeymoon, and what all they did, and how many places they visited, and what all they did. And after a long time, they came back, and Krishna again became small baby, and Radharani, big girl, and carrying Krishna in the hand, she walked all the way to Nandagaon and handed over baby Krishna to Nanda Maharaj. Here is your property, O Maharaj, please take it. Like that. So it's a place, it's a very beautiful place. I went there in 2019 November with the hospital devotees, about 200 in number. We had a beautiful time there. And that is a place Krishna Balaram now have reached. Balaram is on the shoulder of Pralamba. Krishna is on the, Sridama is on the shoulder of Krishna. Am I right? Yeah, Krishna carried Sridama. And by this time, by this point, they were all walking on the ground. Suddenly when Bhandirvan, they were walking. After Bhandirvan border, suddenly the boy who was carrying Balaram, started flying in the sky with the speed of the wind. And Balaram was very surprised. Why everybody got their people down from their shoulder at the border of Bhandirvan. And this boy is supposed to put me also down at the border of Bhandirvan. And this boy is flying in the sky. He was wondering what happened. He got a little frightened also. But soon he came to know this boy is just flying and flying only, not stopping only. So suddenly Balaram increased his weight by Mahima Siddhi. He became heavier than a Sumeru mountain. And the boy was really unbearable. He could not bear the weight of Balaram. And he slowed down, he came on the ground. As soon as he came on the ground, he assumed his demoniac form. And what was his form like? His form was effulgent body with golden ornaments. He resembled a cloud flashing the lightning, carrying the moon. That means he was black in color. His ornaments were lightning. That is like, they were like lightning. And he was carrying Balaram, who was as fair as moon. So it looked like cloud with flash of lightning with moon on the head. Shukdev Maharaj is writing the poetical explanation. Blazing eyes, fiery hair, terrible teeth. Balaram was a bit frightened, but soon he became furious and he struck him with a fist on his head. With one fist, like the mountain Sumeru peak breaks into 2 pieces and the lava comes out of the volcano at the top of the mountain. Like that, when he was struck with the fist of Balaram, his head cracked open He vomited blood, lost consciousness, fell on the ground with great sound. And that time, the demigods showered flowers. The boys, little later. Now, one interesting Brijvasi punch I will tell you. Naturally, the boy, the demon Pralamba, was flying away from Bhandirvan towards north direction. He went to a place called, today's place called Palwal. What is the full form of Palwal? Pralambasur Vadasthal is short formed as Palwal. And that is where he got down. He came on the ground. That is where Balramji killed him. And he came walking from them back all the way to Bhandirvan. And after coming to Bhandirvan, the boy said, Jai, Jai, all glories Balaram, all glories. And embraced him again and again. And really appreciated him, praised him. For the proof of Balramji killing Pralambasur at Palwal, there is a beautiful Balram temple at Palwal. So wherever you get chance to go to Palwal, please do visit that temple of Balramji, which today also commemorates Balram's killing of Pralambasur. Hari Bol. So the Acharyas explain in Garga Samhita the history is given. This Pralambasur was staying with in Assam, this place called Assam, which is called as Pragjotishpur. In Puranic language, Assam is called as Pragjotishpur. And Narkasur was there. He was the king of Pragjotishpur. And he was so powerful, being the son of Lord Varaha and Bhumi, but because of bad association of Banasur, he had become a demon. So he had gathered many demons with him. Shambarasur and Bakasur and Agasur and Putana, and you name, many demons were staying with him. And when Kamsa came there for Digvijay, he challenged everybody. So first one was Pralambasur, who accepted the challenge. And he started fighting with Kamsa. And he said that Kamsa gave him a big punch and threw him hundreds of miles away from the place. He could not even return. Immediately subdued himself and he accepted Kamsa as a king. And then after that, Kamsa fought with Bakasur, Agasur, Shambarasur, everybody. Defeated everybody. And then Putana came in the end. And Kamsa said, I don't fight with women. I take you as my sister. So Putana became Kamsa's sister. And Bhaumasur, Narkasur said, why should we fight? Let us join hands. I am your friend. Why should friends fight? We should just accept each other as friends. And all that assembly, except Narkasur. Narkasur was too big a man. Huh? Kamsa could not subdue him. You never read a description that Bhaumasur was at Mathura, at the beck and call of Kamsa. You will never hear that. Krishna had to go to Pragjotishpur to kill Bhaumasur. Is that true? Where he rescued 16,000 beautiful girls and married them. So it was not that Bhaumasur, Narkasur was at the beck and call of Kamsa at Mathura. But Putana, Agasur, Bakasur, Shambarasur, Pralambasur, everybody followed Kamsa as subdued kinsmen, as conquered people. So Acharyas explained that the first forest fire which extinguished by Krishna represents, Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, it represents inter-communal discord within Vaishnavas. Thakur Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati tells in his books that it is very important to stay with the devotees together. But it is also very difficult to stay with the devotees because always misunderstandings erupt in the community of devotees. And he says, although it is very difficult to stay in the community of devotees, it is an essential part of bhakti that you need to stay with devotees. That means you learn to tolerate each other, forgive their mistakes and overlook their shortcomings and still stay together, knowing well that the cons are not so important than the pros. The pros are very more beneficial than the cons. When we love each other, we ignore each other's faults and stay together because we love and we see the benefit and see the cordial relationship that we have. We do not, when we look at the faults only when there is no love. When there is love, we learn, innately we learn to overlook the faults and only see the good things and just love and kiss and hug and embrace. So we need to stay together with devotees, overlooking their faults, tolerating their deficiencies, and appreciating the benefits that you receive by staying with them. That is what is explained here. And intercommunal discord in Vaishnavas, we should overcome that only by one thing, that is power of love. Pralambasur represents lusty inclinations. Pralambasur represents desire for personal gain and honor. Today also I was discussing in the office to some people that even though we are devotees, we have apparently taken initiation and we are initiated disciples of some guru in the movement of Prabhupada and ISKCON and Brahma Madhva Gaudiya Sampradaya. But still, we maintain our selfishness. Even in the service that we do or we get to do, we're always looking for what is it in for me? What is it that I'm going to get benefit as? What is my personal benefit? Okay, I am now in DT worship. So my first one eye is on Mahaprasad. I am in DT worship. Before I leave the DT worship place or the location of DT worship, I will just see where some Mahaprasad is there, I can pack up and take home. Everywhere, wherever we serve, we are always still tinged with the personal desire of some gain. What will I get? And sometimes we come over these small things like Mahaprasad and something, but we seek for honor or position or respect because we do that service. I am so and so, and I am sitting on such and such chair with such and such authority. So these people should receive me well and should respect me. That is what I deserve because I have served for 30 years now. I served for 40 years now. I have been around for so many years. I have seen generations of devotees passing through me. How does this new man, how does he not respect me? We don't even sometimes realize that these are hidden inadequacies in us. So Pralambasur represent that desire for personal gain, for selfish reasons, and desire for personal honor. And it is very difficult to learn to give up that desire for honor. If you're walking and you're a senior devotee, maybe it is a true thing that 100 people are bowing down to you or at least wishing you or at least half bending in front of you with folded hands, Haribol Prabhuji. And one devotee in between does not wish you and just passes by you. You remember only that. That devotee did not respect me. While so many devotees have already respected you. Or you walk in the hospital and everybody says, Hare Krishna sir, Hare Krishna sir, Hare Krishna sir. And we walk through all the passage, all the way till the office. Maybe 13, 14 devotees staff are wishing you. And one staff member, one ward boy, one ayabai, one nurse just passes by you, looks at you and doesn't wish you and goes away. What remains in your mind is that lady who did not wish me. What does she think of herself? Doesn't she know the etiquette? We should teach the etiquette of the hospital, that you must wish the seniors. Didn't she not attend the induction program? Was she not there for orientation? Doesn't she know who I am? Forget me. Should she not respect the position that I have? All these questions will cross your mind. While so many people already have wished you. Because we have that anartha in us. That wherever I go, now I am respectable. Now I deserve respect. And I feel each and everybody who comes in front of me must respect. Yes, this person must be more aged than me. But in devotional life, he is junior to me. I am devotionally senior to him. So even though he is aged, he should say Haribol Prabhuji to me. That is a big subtle anartha in us. So Balaramji, the original guru, destroys this anartha. So we all have to pray to Balaram. Somehow, when we say na anya bilashita shunyam jnana karmadi anavratam, what does that mean? What is anya abhilasha? Huh? Original abhilasha is devotional service that we already got. What is the anya abhilasha? Anya abhilasha means I should be honored, I should be recognized, I should be worshipped, I should be respected, I should get this, I should get that. When I come to office, immediately a plate of prasadam should come, a garland should come, everybody should come and wish me before I sit down on my chair. This is anya abhilasha. Only when we get anyam abhilashita shunyam jnana karma anavrutam, this so-called knowledge and this so-called karma and the fruits of karma, till we get freed from this so-called knowledge and so-called activities and their fruits, we will not get bhakti. Krishna is watching over us that when we get completely desire-free, the desire for selfish gain and honor, we get freed from that completely and we are fully focused only on one abhilasha, that is to serve and please the spiritual master and thereby the Supreme Lord Krishna. Then only bhakti is awarded to us. Otherwise, bhakti bahut dur ki baat hai. It is not so easy. We have to constantly keep praying. What we have to keep praying? One prayer is, give me devotional service. But what is more important prayer than that? Yes, even if I get devotional service, let me not desire anything out of that devotional service. Let me not desire the fruit that comes out of that in the form of respect or gain. Let me not have that. That should be preparation first. Otherwise, bhakti will come. Along with bhakti, all these things also will come. Desire for honor, desire for gain, desire for position, desire for pratishtha, desire for love, desire for puja. All this will follow bhakti. Please understand. Everything follows bhakti. Siddhi, bhukti, mukti, everything follows bhakti. But when you ignore all of them, labh, puja, pratishtha, mukti, bhukti, siddhi, then only bhakti will remain with you. And then when only bhakti will remain with you, then Krishna will follow you. If you allow everything to follow with you, then Krishna said, okay, be happy with them. When you are bored with them or when you give them up, then I will follow you. So he wants ananya bhakti. So ananya bhakti ke baad mein Krishna ki prapti hoti hai. So we are only desirous of ananya bhakti. But we are very happy to have bhakti and the gains of bhakti along with that. The respect because of bhakti, the position because of bhakti, the gain because of bhakti. We want to keep everything together, bhakti also and that also. But when we keep all this thing together, Sri Krishna does not come. Sri Krishna comes, only we willingly and happily give up all these so-called byproducts of bhakti. Give them up with willingly we give them up. Then Sri Krishna is yours. Sri Krishna is ours. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji.
Yay.
Really an enlivening session, especially the last part, because maybe in a small way, labh, puja, pratishtha, we are all maybe not in any big way, but since we don't have that kind of a position, but in our small ways, in a subtle way, this thing is there. Maybe not with devotees, maybe with somebody else, maybe. So Prabhuji, how is there some ways that we can slowly and gradually identify
knowledge and practice? Like for example, now I have given lectures. So what is my expectation? Mataji will say, Prabhuji, wonderful class, so wonderful class you gave, so nice class you gave. And I'm just expecting. Suppose you don't say anything. Thank you, Prabhuji, Hare Krishna, see you next time. So I say, Mataji, you don't appreciate my class today. That is Pralambasur. Pralambasur still staying in the heart. Every time when you do some good work, good lecture or something, you expect that she will glorify me. He will glorify me. He will appreciate me. Such a good speaker you are. That is Pralambasur. So, two things should be done. That one thing is you have to have knowledge that this is Pralambasur. This is my Anya Abhilasha, that I want this. And Thakur Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati says, this is Shukrera Vishta. Pratishta Shukrera Vishta. Pratishta is equal to the dung of a boar. The boar eats our dung and then passes his dung. And Pratishta is compared with that dung. It's so abominable and so unwanted material. So he said, accepting Pratishta or being attached to Pratishta means eating Shukrera Vishta, eating the dung of a boar. So you have to have knowledge that this what I'm expecting is actually dung of a boar. So if I know it is dung of a boar, why would I accept it? Why would I keep desire for that? So first is to know and to learn what is the anartha. And then when you learn, it will be your effort to not to have it. But Ramesh Babaji says that every rich man is addicted to the boar dung of the boar. Unless you feed them some boar dung, they don't give a donation to you. You have to say how wonderful you are, sir, how generous you are. Your heart is so big, you're so kind, you're so nice. And when you feed them that dung, then they will give donation to you because they are so addicted to that dung. So this is what Virakta sadhus say. Of course, we don't go to donors like that. Oh, I'm going to so-and-so crorepati with a packet of dung of a boar. And today I'm going to feed him nicely. And after I feed him nicely with chutney, then he will give me 1 crore rupees. It is not like that. We don't go with that mood. We appreciate that this wealth that he has got belongs to Krishna, and it will be good for him if he gives that wealth to Radharani and Krishna. It will be his connection with Radha and Krishna's mercy, and it will save him. So out of compassion, we should go. Not out of, if I am supposed to be fed by that dung, then I should feel, I am eating that dung. For myself, I should think that. When for others, I should feel it should be a compassionate activity. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Any other person has any question? Okay. So with this, we will end our today's pravachan, and we'll meet again on next Monday. That is 11th of October. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Thank you so much.